Hello and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. Welcome to the New Student and Family Programs Virtual Information Session Series, which is nothing short of a mouthful. We are so happy to have you here today. We are being joined by the wonderful folks from Student Housing. They're going to talk to you all about their application process, what life is like living on campus, and all kinds of other good stuff. You'll have a chance to answer, or I'm sorry, ask some questions. And hopefully most of your frequently asked questions will be answered through their presentation. So like I said, we're really excited to have you all here today. Hopefully, everyone here was able to attend Day at the Beach back in, oh gosh, April 12th, I think it landed on 11th or 12th. And it was such a fun day. I know we were so busy signing folks up for orientation. I know housing was probably a zoo over at their table. Hannah's nodding her head yes. It was a crazy day, but it was a gorgeous day, and we loved getting to meet with so many of our new families. Um, so we're just going to wait probably like 30 more seconds for a few more folks to join us. We did have quite a few people registered for this session, so I want to make sure that we don't start too early and give people a chance to hop online and join us. So I'm going to say this about 30 times in this session, but we are going to utilize the Q&A only to answer questions. So if you all can do me a favor and ensure that you are putting any questions you might have in the Q&A box. If you don't see that at the bottom of your screen or your device, you're going to have to click more with the little circle and the three dots, and hopefully that Q&A option will pop up. But please do not utilize the chat function for questions. So it's easier for us to track what was answered and all that good stuff as long as it goes in the Q&A box. All right. Tara has a question. I think I can take you off mute, Tara. Go ahead.
Sorry, that was a mistake.
Oh, no worries. We're glad you're here. No problem. Thank you. All right, I think we're going to go ahead and get started. I know our team is definitely ready. So let's go ahead and get this party started here today. Welcome. I know I just said that, but we are New Student and Family Programs. My name is Rachel Sanchez, she, her pronouns. I am the Associate Director over at New Student and Family Programs. And joining me today is my colleague Nina. I'll let her introduce herself.
Hi, everybody. I'm Nina Luxon. I use she, they pronouns. I am the program coordinator for New Student and Family Programs, and I work mainly with parents and family members. So if you're coming and bringing your student for SOAR orientation, I'm the person that'll do parent and family orientation. So it's really nice to meet you all.
Great, thanks, Nina. So, like Nina said, our department does parent and family orientation. We also oversee student orientation, advising, and registration, known as SOAR. So, if you're a student joining us today, you absolutely will have received an email saying sign up for SOAR. So, you want to make sure that you're logging into your student portal, clicking onto the My CSULB tile, it's yellow, and then making sure that you're going to the admissions portion and clicking sign up for SOAR. There is a very detailed video on our website if you want to check that out under the SOAR Survival Guide. And we also oversee parent and family orientation. That's what Nina does. So that's really awesome optional program for parents and supporters. We also do some first year programming for just to connect students with campus, as well as a peer-to-peer texting assistance for our new students, and then all kinds of just year-round student support from our office. So if you ever don't know who to call, please call us. I'll put our number up at the end. We're happy to answer any questions you might have. So what to expect today? This is about a 1 hour session. Our friends over at Student Housing are going to give you all the need to know info, and then you're going to have an opportunity to ask some questions. Like I mentioned, you're definitely going to want to put those questions in the Q&A box. We will do our best. You're welcome to do that at any point. You do not have to wait until the second half. We do have some wonderful folks with us today who are going to be dedicated question answerers in the Q&A box. So please go ahead and start if you have questions already or along the way. And then once we get to the Q&A portion, we will likely answer them live. As you know, hopefully you're here for student housing. Last week is admissions. Next week is financial aid. We'll talk a little bit about that. And this is our team who's with us today. So I will go ahead and let them introduce themselves.
Hi, everyone. My name is Rashawn Jayasinghe. I'm the Housing and Occupancy Analyst, aka Office Manager in Housing. And I will pass it on to Fatu.
Hello, everyone. My name is Fatum Bai, and I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the Director of Residential Life.
Hi, everyone. My name is Hannah Elliott. I use she, hers pronouns, and I'm one of the Assistant Directors of Residential Life, specifically working with our residential curriculum and our student staff training. And I'll pass it along to Sarai.
Hello, my name is Sarai. I'm also housing occupancy analyst, and I'll be reviewing all of the applications. I will pass it on to Crystal.
Hello, I'm Crystal McIntyre. I use she, hers pronouns, and I'm an assistant director in residence life. I think Sarah has left.
Hi, everyone. Sarah Drischler, she, her pronouns, Associate Director in Residence Life.
Great. Thank you, everyone. Today, these are some of the topics our housing team is going to go over. They have some really great details on all of these things today. So hopefully this covers most of the questions you all have. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to their team. Thank you so much.
All right. Well, let's jump right in. We are so excited to have you all here. First, we're going to talk about our housing facilities. So we have three if you can, yep, there we go. We have three different villages that make up residential or housing, student housing, and that's 27 buildings total, right? So including the dining halls, which we oversee. So in those three buildings, we have Hillside, Parkside, and Beachside. Beachside is located about 1.5 miles off-site. It's still considered as on campus, but it's just down PCH, around PCH and Clark. We have 24 buildings that house students. And if folks have been on campus, they've seen our new building going up. So that will be open this August. Our occupancy will reach about 3,700 students. So we're really excited to increase the number of folks who can call the beach home physically. A question that we often get is there a restriction on housing or housing students having cars? And there is none. You just have to sign up with parking with a caveat that if you're at Beachside, there is a limited number of spots just because of the way Beachside is set up. So if you're assigned to Beachside and you want to bring your car, I would say sign up as quickly as you can. And we don't have a housing requirement for first-year students. We know that a lot of institutions have that. We just aren't able to house all of our first-year students. And so we let folks, especially those who are closer to campus, it makes more sense for them to commute and let the folks who live further away live on campus. Each area or each village has a dining hall, but our students can go to any of the dining halls. So Hillside, Parkside, and Beachside, what we find is our Beachside students often will do breakfast and dinner at Beachside, but then have lunch on main campus, depending on their class schedules. The dining halls are managed by beach shops and their dining services. However, the housing office, our wonderful folks, Rashawn and Sarah E., do all that billing with them. So that's why, sometimes it looks like we're the same thing, but we just help manage the sign up and the payment. And then we're staff. So we have a bunch of folks who will work with you and your students once they get here. So I'm the Director of Residential Life, but as you saw, I have an associate director and two assistant directors who are also on this call. And they are supervisors and leads to our area coordinators and res life coordinators, who are all master's level professionals right now, and they supervise our RAs. We'll have 104 RAs, and RAs are student staff and leaders who oversee the communities and do programs and whatnot. And then there's desk assistants who will help with mail and other positions. So those are positions to think about your student applying for. Next slide. Um, like I had already mentioned, Beach Shops runs the dining hall, and these are the meal plans. Folks sign up for whatever they want, but students often, after the first week or so, realize either it's, Goldilocks, it's the perfect plan, or it's too many or too few. So we give students about 2 weeks, I think. Is that correct? The first 2 weeks of classes to figure out the meal plan that they want, and then they can, oh, actually, no, that's a change. So the request must be emailed prior to May 31st. So that is a change. So please pay attention to that. Apologies for using last year's information. And I will pass that on to Hannah. Hannah is going to talk about the thematic communities and our residential curriculum.
Yes, so I nerd out with me here for a bit, but our residential curriculum is a really exciting part of living on campus here. We know that students obviously learn in the classroom, and there's a bunch of research that shows that they actually learn a whole lot, sometimes a whole lot more, just based on their extracurricular activities, where they're engaging with campus outside of a classroom space, especially when they live where they go to school. And so we have a residential curriculum that is set out to guide our student learning here in housing. Our educational priority, we say, is living on campus empowers our students to become more inclusive, responsible, mindful, and engaged community members, embracing their authentic selves at CSULB and beyond. We break down this more aspirational statement into 5 different learning goals or learning areas. So being and belonging, which we capture as students understanding themselves more and how they belong as part of our community, belonging as their authentic selves. So not just do they fit in, are they, succumbing to peer pressure, those kinds of things that we've all dealt with at different points of our lives, but are they able to belong as who they are as a person? Essential life skills. So can they do laundry? Do they know how to cook a meal for themselves? Are they able to resolve conflict in a healthy way? Academic engagement. So we know why they're here, to get their degree, and really want them to engage, not just like sit down, study, and go do your tests, go to class, but also do they know resources that are available to them? Are they exploring how their major, or if their undeclared major exploration connects into future career goals and ambitions? Cultural competency. So understanding that we say there's 3,700 students living with us next year. All 3,700 of those students are coming in with their own identities and lived experience. So how are you able to look outside of your own lived experience and build relationships? Understand that difference doesn't mean a bad thing. Leading with curiosity, being able to go to a program or event about a culture that's not yours. Getting good food. We do a lot of good cultural programs surrounded by food and music and community in some really beautiful ways. And then holistic wellness. So knowing that none of us are well all the time. So whether that's your physical wellness and getting connected to our student health center, or some of those more emotional wellness, mental health, we have tons of resources available. As Fatu said, we do have 24/7 live-in staff at the student level and above, who are here for those like late night crisis level interventions and wellness checks. But also doing things like just some stress coping strategies. Like you may have 3 tests next week. How are we taking time away from our textbooks to go on a walk? Making sure we're, getting nutrient dense meals at the dining hall and not just going for a grilled cheese every meal period. Getting some fruit on your plate, right? And so some of those pieces. We also have some live-ins, not live-in, we have some staff that work with our live-in team, which is our housing care coordinator, who does case management for our students experiencing various crises, personal things, students experience a death in the family, or we're in a car accident, or the many things life brings, is able to help those students re-engage and get back on a path to success and let us get them connected to resources. We also have our counselor in residence, who is one of our counselors at our Counseling and Psychological Services office, who sets aside time to do specific programming and sessions, group therapy sessions as well with our residential students. We do all of this learning through very practical ways. So we do different programs, events, like I mentioned. We bring in campus partners. So not just saying, hey, you should go to the Career Center, but bringing the Career Center in for a workshop. We do social media and an emailed out newsletter once a month, trying to meet students where they are. We know we live in a very digital time. And so they might not be able to stop by an event, but they can read something on their phone if they're already on Instagram. We have our traditional methods like bulletin boards. We do a really fun publication called the Stall Seat Journal, which is a publication in every restroom. Every toilet stall has one that is swapped out probably bi-weekly and has different educational information. I saw some questions in the chat about off-campus housing. Our current issue is about off-campus housing. So what does it mean to like build credit? What should I be looking for in a leasing agreement off campus? So trying to help transition students to living off one day. We have a residence hall association, which is a student leadership group, similar to like a student council or ASI here on main campus, that does large scale events and opportunities for all residents, including some like advocacy initiatives, and some really cool programming, especially when we first start. They do usually a big casino night or a really big event where we usually have about 1,200 students attend, and get to welcome them into housing. And then as Fatu mentioned, we employ several students at our desks, at our housing office, in our dining halls. And so they will see their neighbors and familiar faces throughout the community as well. And then our thematic communities. So part of living with us in any of our communities is getting all of that great engagement experiences. And we build off of that more specifically in our 6 thematic houses. So our thematic communities allow residents to live in an intentional community surrounding common personal, social, and intellectual interests, which help develop support networks to assist with their transition to college. The 6 communities we currently offer are 2 in Parkside, so our Black and Pan-African Scholars House and our First Generation House, as well as 4 communities in Hillside Village, which is our International House, very cool building. Our Pride House community, Transfer community, and our University Honors House. All of those communities are at their standard rate, except for Transfer and University Honors House, which are at the standard plus rate. If you are University Honors House, to be an official part of the thematic community, you would be part of the University Honors Program. However, if you are an honors student, you do not have to live in our Honors House community. Selecting interest in any of these communities will trigger 2 additional questions within your housing application, asking what you want to contribute to this community and your interest in the community. All students, regardless of any identities, are allowed to participate in these communities. So really just showing that curiosity and engagement in these different areas. We do very specific programming. We bring in specific campus partners, and really try to make sure the students are set up to do some cool stuff outside of what we do in all of our general housing communities. And I think now I pass it on to Rashawn. Oh, Rashawn, I think you're muted.
Now everybody saw me try to do ventriloquism, so let me start over again. My name's Rashawn, and I'm going to talk about the application process. So right now, our application has opened on April 2nd. We will have a priority deadline for all students who apply during that period on May 1st, right before midnight. So try not to wait till the last minute if you haven't applied yet. Better off to do it 3 days ahead so we can make sure everything is smooth and you don't have any issues with the portal. The way it's going to work is the students will have a $50 non-refundable application fee, as well as $275 initial payment to complete the application. That $275, should you get confirmed for housing, does go towards the cost of your housing for the academic year. Our process will be for all new students who apply between April 1st and May 1st, April 2nd and May 1st. will be put in order based on distance from the campus. Now, I know I saw a few questions on the Q&A, which I'm going to answer at this point. We will take from the distance farthest whatever student tries to apply to housing in the university, all the way up close to 1 mile from the campus or even half a mile. Our previous years when we did this process, the cutoff tended to be around 25-mile radius of the campus. However, that does not mean that students that were local or nearby did not get a chance to be in housing. We go through our wait list throughout the summer, and that tends to bring in people from local areas. So by the time moving comes in August, we've had some people who are only living 2 miles away from campus, but still living in the halls to get that experience. So keep that in mind. We will confirm all students based on our target number of 3,700, minus a few, several spaces for our current residents, which I'll explain in a minute. So if you're not confirmed, when our slated time period to confirm students is the week of May 5th, shooting by May 7th, hopefully it'll be the go-to date, but around that week is when we're going to be sending out emails to all the students who applied and paid. They're either confirmed a space or they're on a wait list. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, we have about 3,700 spaces on campus. We're holding 700 spaces for our current residents, meaning the residents living here right now. They've applied already in March and they are already been accounted for in terms of how many spaces we've allotted, and then we also have a wait list for them. And so 700 of that 3,700 will be current residents, and then the rest are new, any student who has not lived in housing before. So the wait list will be, if you're a returner, you replace a returner. If you're new, you replace a new. My colleague Sari is going through daily, updating the wait list from cancellations, updating the confirmations from people who cancel and pulling people off the wait list. So it has been a daily task that we're both doing and hoping to keep that stride going as we go through the summer. Next slide. So I said May 1st was the priority deadline. However, our application will not be ending at that period. We'll reopen it for all students, returners, late student, late current residents, late new residents, as well as past residents that want to now come back into halls. They will be all first come, first served basis. So we're no longer doing the distance at that point, and they'll be automatically placed on the wait list as we go through things. Again, once I mentioned, if a new student who is confirmed cancels off their confirmation page, we'll pull someone from the wait list and set her for a returner. We have seen wait lists in the past between 700 to 1,000, and by move-in day in August, so that 3-month period, we're pulling people off the wait list. We're pulling people into housing. I think out of the 10 years I have dealt with this wait list, only 1 year has been we still had to confirm people throughout the first 2 weeks or so of school. So there's no penalty being on the wait list. If you decide to cancel off the wait list, then that $275 you paid will be refunded. The $50, as I said, is non-refundable. If you get confirmed a space, then the funds are non-refundable altogether. Next slide. So costs, I know a lot of parents and everything are interested about costs and concerns. So as you can see right now, you have the year cost along with the semester. So if you wanted to kind of get an idea how much you have, need to afford to pay each semester. The way it works is we have 3 tiers of pricing. We have the premium, the plus, and the standard. And within those 3 tiers, we have room types, whether it could be a double, it could be a triple, and very small number of singles. So depending on the building structure or the way the building has been tagged, you have a double standard or a double premium, or in fact a triple standard. So that's how that pricing, what those mean. So I know someone mentioned they were at Days of the Beach, they understood the tiers, but they didn't realize that double premium is not meaning. So you're underwear. So the pricing for housing is going to be your room type that you're shooting for, plus the meal plan that you're requesting. You take that amount total for the academic year, and if you divide it by 8, that will give you your estimated monthly cost. This is before financial aid kicks in or anything like that. So you can see in the yellow that a double room standard with a 210 block pan is 16,480, but 8 payments comes out to 2,060. That includes utilities, water, electric, data in terms of Wi-Fi and stuff like that, and the convenience of being on campus. So keep those things in mind. I will mention though that because everybody saw the new building during Days at the Beach, they've seen Parkside North, Days at the Beach. Those buildings are premium buildings. They house about 750 students total. Now that means if 1,400 students are requesting the double premium, there's going to be a lottery of who's going to get it and who's not. So keep that in mind that if you in May, you got a spot. So one of our 3,700 spaces, you're going to be living in. And then in terms of the lottery or randomizing of per room type and tier, then we will let you guys know. We're hoping to have people, we'll be letting people know prior to roommate selection what specific location, what specific type or grouping, whether they be in a thematic community or if they're in Parkside double standard type thing. That will be sent out in the 3rd week of May. So, next slide. For all of you that end up on the wait list or have concerns or don't want to live on housing, that's your choice. We do have an off-campus housing resource, which is found on our website under resources. And you just click there. We have a third-party vendor called College Paths that lists offerings that are around the area, as well as we have a coordinator on our department who helps to facilitate Zoom meet a roommate type meetings and including some of the vendors that are so we have I think another one coming up soon. So check this page out if you're not sure what to do or you're looking to look off campus. Those are some resources as well. So our website is on there. Our email is great to remember because that's where you're going to send us emails if you have questions. If you did your application and realize you want to change something, including when you want to change your meal plan, send that email. Make sure you have your student's name and ID number on that email so we know which record to update and stuff. So that can be between changing payment plan or changing meal plans, or you realize you and your friend want to be roommates, and it's best to have the same information as first choice, second choice. So if you realize you and your friend pick differently, one of you can change it so you make the match. There's no guarantee though, because like I said, if 1,400 students chose a double premium, only 700 are going to be in there, and it's random and lottery system. So hopefully you both get in there, and then that gives you a better chance of becoming roommates or searching for each other as roommates. Speaking of roommates, those students who get confirmed housing will choose roommates in June, from June 2nd to the 16th. It'll all be through the portal. Information about that will be sent out to those students. And then in July 7th through the 9th will be when they select rooms. So you'll get an area, a village area that you're going to be confirmed for, plus a room type. You'll search people in those areas and those types. And then you guys as roommates verify each other, talk about where you want to search, what building, whatever. So for example, if you get a double standard in Parkside, you have pretty much 7 buildings, 2 that are not thematic communities to choose from. So you might want to talk to each other about that. Along with this, we have our Facebook page, our Instagram page, which I have a lot of marketing on there, information, updates, things that are going on, reminders and stuff. So like our Instagram page if you can, so that you can follow it and get that information up to date. If you have questions, you can call us as well. Any questions regarding thematic communities, just address it to Hannah and we'll send it over to her so she can get that. And then if you are searching for accommodations for ADA or any other aspects of accommodation for disabilities, you need to make sure you register and push in everything through BMAC. the Bob Murphy Access Center. They have a housing accommodations form that you would fill out, and then they will communicate with us once everything is in order to figure things out. So that's our presentation. Now we get the fun part of doing the Q&A, which I know a lot of questions were coming in and everything. So if you have questions, please post it in the Q&A and we'll answer them. I do want to mention that we will be doing summer tours in the summer. So if you're able to, want to, reach out to our office, letting us know we're still finalizing the dates and times or the time periods. We'll be doing specific tour times in the morning and afternoon. So if a group comes in, we can just do a big group at once. And then, yeah, so questions, let's see.
I think there was a pretty reoccurring question, if you want to just reiterate, Roshan, about the distance. I think people kind of continued to ask about that,
Yes.
just to clarify that little piece.
So the distance process will be a distance calculator from your home address, from the home address to the campus address. And then what we have done, so in the previous 2 years, we had distances from almost like 5,000 miles. They're coming from another country and stuff like that. Obviously, those are pretty strong, good chance of getting housing. Unless the whole country decided to apply for housing, then we have to cut off some people. But in the past 2 years that we've done the distance calculator, the initial phase of confirmation saw that those that got placed on the wait list was in the range of 25 to 27 miles from campus. So if you're borderline 30 to 25 miles, know that you might get an email that says you're on the wait list, but don't panic about that. There's no penalty staying on the wait list. You can reach out to us in a week or so to let us to find out where you are on the wait list. As I said before, we are constantly going through and updating the wait list if people decide to cancel off that. And cancellations can end up being from they decided to go to another university. They decided the financial aid package wasn't big enough, so they're going to just commute and things like that. And there's also been to students deciding, oh, I met someone and we're going to get an apartment, so they cancel. And that can be from people that are on the wait list or confirmed space. That's how people on our wait list will bump up and get into the housing spot. The distance, again, has been about 25 miles radius from the campus. So if you want to get a basic idea, put in your home address to the campus address, 1250 Bellflower Boulevard, and then you get an idea, estimated idea of what the travel distance is. Now, this is not travel distance like I got to take the 405 to the 5, the 710, whatever to get here. It is directly straight line from your house to the campus. So keep that in mind. Your drive might be an hour and a half, but technically your distance is only, 28 miles or something like that, depending what it is.
Okay. Someone asked if the that formula is just for getting a room, not the type of room, correct?
That formula is basically getting housing.
Yeah.
So
And then
everyone
from
can
there
apply
they
regardless of
select.
your room type preference, your thematic type preference, your gender, anything like that. It is basically your application, put it in a big bowl and putting them in an order of the distance, and then going down that list of the distance based on the number of able beds we're able to confirm. So
Okay. And then there was a question that I think could be relevant to everyone. If any student populations get priority for housing, whether it's an honors or a student athlete, anything like that.
So housing does not have a priority system for students applying. It's basically the distance calculator, as we mentioned, for returning residents is based on the lottery system for returners. So you could be an honor student, you wanted a thematic community, you wanted to be any of the variations, there's no priority. So we don't have, oh, you're a so-and-so student, so we need to put you in housing. That doesn't oversee anything else. So everybody is treated the same and goes through the whole process the same.
And I can jump in here as well to add, we have students who will reach out with needing like disability accommodations through our Bob Murphy Access Center. While we obviously provide housing accommodations once confirmed for housing, there is not an accommodation that is like you get on campus housing, which will often come up with people going to BMAC and saying, I need an accommodation for campus housing. And then outside of that, as Rashawn mentioned, it is just the distance priority. We have students sometimes who will choose a thematic community thinking that is like their wiggle way in. But again, that is not part of this.
Yeah. And then one other thing I saw a question about it. Greek life, we don't do Greek life housing. So Greek life housing and a lot of those um, fraternities and sororities are off campus. In fact, all of them are off campus, but they have events and stuff on campus or nearby. We even have some students who newly get added into the chapters and stuff who are currently living in housing, but it does not mean we are dealing with the chapter house for within our residence halls. So those are all off campus in apartments, houses, whichever, depending on that. There is, of course, we can welcome, and that time period is when you get to meet a lot of people who are in clubs, sports, fraternities, sororities, and all that. So get more information from there.
Great. Maybe Hannah or Sarah wants to answer this, but there were a couple questions about whether or not a meal plan is required and talking about options for folks who have allergies.
Yeah, so a meal plan is required, no matter where you get placed. So you could be in our most expensive, like double 2-bedroom suite. You could be at a standard triple over at Beachside. Meal plan is required, and that's based off of one of three choices. Once you pick your meal plan type, you'll be locked in pending those dates that were shared for changing your meal plan. Because they are required, we will encourage students, if you were like, I'm not going to eat at the dining hall, I like cooking my own meals and meal prepping, get the lowest option. And if you're like, I'm going to be eating at the dining hall for all of my meals, that would be the higher option, would more fit your needs, obviously pending any like fiscal restrictions you may have. Um, we have a registered dietitian, Jenny Liu, who works as our residential dining associate director. And she works with students who have dietary restrictions, allergies, or other dietary needs to help them navigate the dining hall. So talking through our different menus, which everything when you walk into the dining hall is labeled with the different allergens. And if you have very specific food allergies, it might not be as clearly labeled. For those like very, very specific ones, that's like an ingredient inside of an ingredient. So working with Jenny is the best option to make sure she can help you identify things that will definitely not work with your restrictions, as well as thinking through how to best navigate the dining hall, what like kind of off menu items you can get from the grill, building things at the salad bar, etc.
Great. Thank you so much. I was wondering if you all would be willing to talk about one of my favorite things, which is move-in.
Yes.
So fun.
Move-in and beach days is one of our favorite times of the year. It is filled with so much emotions, excitement, tearful parents, that nervousness that comes with starting college. We're continuing college for our transferring students and returning residents. So move-in dates, I do not have the dates pulled up right in front of me. I'm looking at a calendar really quickly.
20th
August
and
20th and
21st.
21st.
Yes.
Yes, 20th and 21st. So those will be our move-in dates. Your building will determine which day you move in, and so that information will be communicated during the summer. Obviously, we work with students if you need to move in later than that date. Earlier than that date is very tricky and usually not accommodated, just because our halls are not ready for you just yet. Once students move in, we also start beach days, which is our like welcoming program, different than day at the beach. We have beach days. And so we do things from like community meetings where they'll meet their RA, they'll learn more about our different policies, the super fun stuff, right? But so that they can be successful living here, learn more about their community, where's the laundry room, where's the dining hall. Start their roommate agreement. So talking to their roommate about like, cool, we messaged on Instagram over the summer about Beyonce's new album and all these things. But did we talk about when the lights are going to shut off at night? Did we talk about what we're going to do if we get annoyed with each other? How are we going to handle that? Um, we also do again the fun programming with RHA, so very big, massive program, welcome program. We bring in campus partners. We actually brought in our SOAR leaders last year to do some campus tours during that time, which feels different than your SOAR or your day at the beach tour, right? It feels so mystical at that point in time, but you have your class schedule now. So actually getting to walk through where are my classes, how am I going to get to and fro? And so that's kind of like the 10,000-foot view of move-in. We will get to all of the nitty-gritty details over summer via emailing, as well as our social media. We'll have more information as well there.
Great. Thank you so much, Hannah. That was awesome. It
All
looks like
right.
Roshan wants to answer this one live to choose the room
Yeah,
assignment.
I hit the button wrong, but I'll answer
Oh,
it
that's
live.
okay.
Regarding to roommate selection process, um, it will be again June 2nd through June 16th, whatever that Monday is. I forget. I don't have it on my in front of me, but it is written on the portal as well as the information sent about your application was completed. But you can also check our website as well. When it gets closer to those times, we'll be telling you how to do those who are confirmed will be informed how to do the search and stuff. After that, in July, oh, almost says June again, in July will be the room selection, and that's from the 7th through the 9th. So every step of the way, we will send communications to remind students and how to do those things or what they need to do to prepare for those. So if there's a follow-up question, like if someone got off the wait list during roommate selection or room selection, if there is enough time, we will give them access to those as well. If it's afterwards, those that are on the wait list that get taken off to be confirmed will be auto assigned based on where our spaces are available. And whoever that other student is in that room would be their roommate.
Great. Thank you. Another thing I saw come up a lot was questions about applying to be an RA. I know several of those were answered, but if you want to answer that live for folks, that would be great.
Sure, I can speak to that. Our process actually starts in the fall. And so our Crystal, who's answering a lot of these questions in the chat, leads our staff selection processes. So your student will find this information via emails and signage and postings. Usually starts in about October. And then we do interviews in November and start assigning folks in the spring semester. So the reason we start so early is so folks are thinking about it and thinking about, what does it mean to be an RA and a leader in the community throughout the year? Because if there's any major conduct issues or behavioral issues, they're not going to be considered, right? So that's one thing. It also allows us to hire from that pool if we need to, if there's any attrition from our current RAs partway through the year. The RA position is a year-long process, and our RAs are expected to be with us for a year, but sometimes folks get study abroad opportunities or they graduate sooner than they expect. The RA position is a busy one. We require a 2.7 GPA, and that is because it's a lot of work. So we need folks who are able to time manage. And the compensation for being an RA is room and board. So they get the 210 meal plan, and they're placed wherever we place them, and their package is shown as a standard double room is what will show up on the financial aid. It's really important if your student goes through the process and gets offered an RA position to look to make sure that it's financially a good idea. There's some folks whose packages through financial aid are so good that actually taking the RA position will hurt them that way. But some folks say, what, the balance of the leadership that I get, the community that I develop, all of those things is worth it, right? So everybody's situation is different, but we do have lots of information. It'll be on our website. It'll be clear for folks when we do start the process.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Fatu. There was a question about things to bring that I think Hannah answered.
Yeah, so we will do again more of that like emailing, social media, like you all will get the information you need post confirmation for housing in the summertime. But we do have our community living guide posted on our website, which has all of our policy information in it. We're working on updating some of these web pages, so you might log on today and it's going to look different a few weeks from now as we're making them more easy to navigate. But we will provide a packing list. You can also look at our Instagram posts from last summer to get an idea. Some of the common things that are not allowed that folks want to bring include like big tapestries or large flags are not allowed on the wall. We say no more than 10% of the wall covered. And so some folks are like, I saw on Pinterest this lovely poster, gallery wall. And unfortunately, we will see it, we will compliment it, and then we will ask you to take it down per our fire safety code set by our fire marshal. Some other common things are candles. Candles, which, I love a candle. We all have our favorite scents. Not allowed in the halls, even with a candle warmer, right? We can't guarantee that you're not lighting it when staff is not around, and so we just say no candles. E-scooters are really big. So e-scooters, e-bikes are not allowed in the residence halls. They're actually not allowed on campus. But we obviously are policy enforcers within the halls differently than just kind of walking around campus. And so we do enforce those pretty strictly here. If you don't know, another CSU campus actually recently had a fire within the halls because of an e-scooter starting a fire. So for the safety of our residents and not wanting to end up like that school that had 70 students put into a hotel, we are not allowing e-scooters or e-bikes. Those are the common ones, I would say, like kind of like the big ones. We don't allow extra appliances either. That includes like your air fryers, your rice cookers, no extra mini fridge. We provide a mini fridge and microwave for every bedroom. And again, a more comprehensive list will be sent along. For items you should bring, bedding. We do not provide bedding, your towels, your toiletries, your teddy bear, right? Like things that will make it feel more like home. Are definitely encouraged to bring as well. I also saw, and I put that I wanted to answer live. Again, we have our community living guide with all of those policies. We are not like a completely dry campus as some others are, where it's like nobody can have alcohol regardless of age. We follow the federal law as far as if you are 21 and above and are allowed to legally drink. We do have some stipulations on what type of alcohol containers and such that you can have. But if you are underage, federal law applies to you. And so we are not permitting any drinking. That includes alcohol decorations as well. We'll see students who have like a bedazzled wine bottle as part of their decor, and we're not allowing it as quote unquote paraphernalia is the word that we use. Some other things that will happen there is if your student is 18, 19, 20 years old and their roommate is of drinking age, we don't permit alcohol in the room, just to make sure there's no boundaries crossed in terms of, well, I'm 21 and bought some beer for myself, and then my roommate while I was gone drank some, or heaven forbid, someone providing alcohol for their underage roommate, which, as people have birthdays and stuff, can complicate a roommate relationship throughout the year. So just being mindful of some of those pieces. Sleepovers are allowed per our guest policy. We just ask roommates to talk with one another. So we have a written out guest policy, no more than 3 consecutive nights in, I believe, a 2 or 3 week period. Again, defer to that community living guide for the specific language. But we also tell people that if one roommate is not okay with any guests, that is going to be the default there. So if Crystal and I are rooming together and I say, hey, I actually don't want anyone sleeping over in the room, I just don't feel comfortable with it, that means Crystal and I both would not have overnight guests in the room. And again, we have that roommate agreement process that will have pretty specific details about guest policy, because we know it's a hot topic when it comes to rooming together. We even ask specific questions about what types of guests, right? Are you okay with friends and classmates, but maybe not romantic partners? Are you okay with family coming over, but maybe not friends? And setting those boundaries with one another.
Great. Thank you, Hannah. I was going to address, there was a couple questions about SOAR, which I just wanted to jump in and address so people can maybe think of a couple more housing questions as we have about 10 minutes left here. Orientation is required. It is required of every single incoming student, both first time, first year, which is our kind of phrase for freshmen, as well as for transfers. So if you are a first time, first year student, you will be attending in person with us and selecting your classes the day you're here for SOAR. So we will hang out with you in the morning for orientation, and then we will deliver you in person to your advising center, where you'll meet with academic advisors and select your classes for fall of 26. I almost just said fall 25. And then if you're a transfer, the process is slightly different. It is a 2-day experience, but you will likely only come to campus one day. You will come to campus for your orientation, and then your advising and registration process looks different depending on what college you're in. So for example, if you're in the College of Health and Human Services, they will contact you via your student email with class recommendations, meeting with an advisor, all that good stuff. And then on your actual registration day, which is one business day after your orientation day, and they are automatically linked in your student portal, you will actually register for your classes online. So most of the advising takes place in advance, and then your actual registration takes place the day after you attend orientation. So I know it's slightly confusing. All of that is available on our website in a pretty simplified bullet point form. So hopefully that helps a little. Let's see. Can you please further explain the meal block plan, the 210? A little
Yeah,
bit
I'll
of
actually
detail on
explain the
that.
meal plans. So
Sure.
we have 3 meal plans, the 10, the 210 block, and the 19. The 10 and 19 meal plans literally mean 10 meals per week or 19 meals per week. Our dining services serve 19 meals, brunch and dinner Saturdays and Sunday, and then breakfast, lunch, and dinner Monday through Friday, so a total 19. The middle one, the 210 block plan, is basically you get 210 meal plans at the beginning of the semester. And as you swipe through your dining hall, as you go into the dining hall to eat a meal, they swipe one meal off of that 210. So in the first week, you can test it all out, go to 19 meals, and now you have 19 less meals. And then the second week, you go maybe 10 if you wanted to. And you can go as many times as you want in variations of the week. However, if you run out before the end of the semester ends, you pay out of pocket whatever the cost is at the door. And so that's how that works. So it's a declining meal plan in a sense. It averages about 13 meals per week if you were to break it up. Any of the meals not used on the 10 and 19 meal plan do not roll over. It's use it or lose it kind of thing. So that's how that works. And then in spring, it starts all over again, doing the same thing. So
I saw a couple questions as well about parking. I know Fatu, I believe, touched on it briefly at the beginning of the presentation. Any students living on campus with a car will need to get a resident parking permit. And then if you live at Beachside, you will get the Beachside resident parking permit. The parking website has all of the different stipulations and lots and hours and those sort of things. And we would defer to them. We have a lot of students who they'll get the Beachside permit and think that they can just park anywhere because of that. And so we want to make sure that students understand like you're responsible for knowing, right? Just like you're responsible for knowing the terms and agreements of the license agreement with us when you get a parking permit, knowing where I can park, when I can park there. And then I saw a question as well about cleaning. Our custodial staff works really hard to maintain the cleanliness and safety of our buildings. And so doing those kind of regular cleanings, the vacuuming, making sure the bathrooms are cleaned regularly. But as far as like your bedroom is your business, and we hope you're cleaning it regularly. We do have our service centers that provide brooms and vacuums, and potentially we're working on some like cleaning supplies that students can check out for those kind of like high use items. But if you are like, I only use organic, this type of spray for cleaning my stuff, you would need to purchase and buy that. And then obviously cleaning your own room on a schedule that works with you and your roommate, which I would say is also a big roommate tension. Clean means different to different people. So highly encourage you all during that roommate selection process, if you're confirmed for housing, to talk through what clean means to me, right? Is that just tidy? Does that mean deep cleaning twice a week? And understanding those expectations of one another.
I'll
I
just,
want to add on to that
oh,
whole
go ahead,
point,
Rashawn.
that the whole cleaning aspect is that we do actually have that question on our application on the profile questions. So it's very important that the students are the ones filling out those questionnaires and being honest about themselves and those answers, because then it will help at least gear them to the roommate of close to this aspect that you're looking for. There's no questions about what kind of music you listen to, what you like to do for fun, things like that. Those are conversation pieces you can have when you're searching for a roommate by sending a message and having those conversations. So keep that in mind.
That was similar to what I was just going to say. I'll just take an extra piece to say, this is a time of growth and development, right? Like students are going through a lot, and there's a lot of social development that's happening. And so the biggest thing that you all can do as parents to help us and your student is to have those conversations with them, right? Like, what are their boundaries? How are they going to communicate those? One of the biggest issues that we see are folks just not communicating, right? And it's okay to set boundaries, but coaching your student on how to do that, instead of having mom and dad and cousin and grandma calling the housing office. These are anywhere from 17-year-olds and on. And so you are preparing them for the world, right? The world, and this is a safer place to do that. And so that's what we ask of you, is to have those hard conversations with your students about everything, whether it's peer pressure, sex, consent, um, money management, all of those things. And then if issues come up, coach them through how to handle those things so that they have that confidence in themselves. I'll get off my soapbox, but you all are doing a great job raising your kids. So continue to help them on that journey to take over for themselves.
Yes, we see every single incoming student in our department, and I cannot echo that enough. So thank you, Fatu. Any coaching you can do at home, and taking, and for our students who are here with us online, really kind of taking charge of your own destiny. It's a cheesy way to say it, but that's what I've got. So thank you so much. So we are still answering quite a few questions in the Q&A box. I'm very impressed at how much we've powered through, over 150 questions answered. Yes, you can change your meal plan in the next semester. Even I learned that on this this webinar today. So thank you for that. We are going to wrap it up. Thank you so much to all of our wonderful housing folks. Let's give them a round of applause. I know they can't hear you because you're all automatically muted, but we very much appreciate having y'all online here today to get these questions answered. I know that this is a overwhelming, stressful time, so definitely call us, email us, ask the questions. It's better for you all to know than to not know, obviously. So we're really excited. Just to clarify, this session is being recorded as we speak and will be posted within 24 hours. Nina was kind enough to put in the chat box how to access this presentation tomorrow with the YouTube link. It will also be emailed to everyone. So if you're here today, or even if you weren't able to make it, if you were one of our several hundred people registered for this webinar, you will absolutely receive this recording tomorrow and have to listen to all of this all over again. So hopefully this was helpful. And I really am excited to meet all of you this summer. Again, my name's Rachel. I oversee SOAR, and you will see me all this summer. I'm so excited. So thank you again to our housing team, and hopefully y'all have a wonderful evening. Thank you so much for being here. Goodbye.